the people in this movement. Bob, are you still there? Disconnected? Am I disconnected, guys? I'm showing stream health is on. Where's this coming from? You guys, can you hear me? Am I disconnected? Yeah, unable to chat. Wow. Did they shut the stream down? You guys, if we are connected on the stream, can you please let me know? It looks like my internet was cut. And I am in the process of attempting to get Bob back on the phone here. Looks like it still says unable to chat. Okay. Bob, are you there? Hello? How about chat? You guys, the chat is reconnected. You can hear me. Okay, thank goodness. That was very interesting. Looks like my my internet was shut down for a moment there. Let me try and just get Bob back on the phone. One moment.
It's called being over the target.
Hey there.
Bob, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, it looks like I got my stream shut down momentarily. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that what you're talking about, the contradiction of somebody being able to hold those two views. In other words, to see somebody speaking badly and yet still cling to an ideology that's deeply attached to them and excuse them for their behavior that from the outside looks very strange. And I can tell you because I work with people once in a while who have been involved in those groups and discuss with them, how they got involved and why they, hold these beliefs. And I'm very clear about I'm not challenging their right to hold a belief. Everybody can believe whatever they want, but are they willing to explore how they came to believe what it is that they're currently believing? And it's a difficult thing to do. And I have found a way. I usually tell a little story. If you have 5 minutes, I can tell you that.
Please.
May sort of explain it better.
Yes, go for it.
So when I was a kid, I managed a pet shop. And like I said, I was quite the wheeler dealer and, still am. But let's say somebody comes into the shop and they say, how much is that dog? And I tell them it's $150. Remember, this is in the early 70s. I tell them it's $150. And they go, oh, that's too much money. And I go, well, why don't you go out and have a cup of coffee and think about it and come back? And then they look at me like I'm crazy. What do you mean? I go, yeah, why don't you just go out and have a cup of coffee and give it a little thought and come back? Maybe you don't really want to buy it. No, I want to buy a dog. Why do you think I'm here? I said, no, trust me. Go out, have a cup of coffee, think about it. Then finally I pull out $1 and press it in their hand and go, here, have it on me, go do it. And they go, no, what do you mean? And then I kind of sigh and I say, okay, I'll tell you, this dog is going to cost you $7,000 at least before its life is over. So if I give you the dog for free, that's $6,850 that you haven't been thinking about. The price of the dog is not the question. If you're going to get a dog, it's going to cost you a lot of money over its life, and that's why I'm telling you to go think about it. So all of a sudden, they see the light. They understand. And they purchase the dog, and then I sell them the bowl, the tick spray, the shampoo, the brushes, the leash, everything else, and they walk out with $300 or $400 worth of dog and accessories. Now, let's say I meet this guy 5 years later, and I'm in the park, and I recognize him, and I say, hey, Joe, how are you doing, And he goes, I say, you remember me? He said, yeah, I remember you. I tell you, Fluffy is the best dog. I'm so glad I got him. And, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I said, well, why don't you sit down a minute and let me explain to you how you were sold that dog. And, it doesn't matter. I don't care what you did to sell me that dog. He's really the best. And I go, I'm not going to tell you that because I've sold you the dog and, maybe through a different way than you perceived, that you should go and take your dog and throw him through the meat grinder and get rid of him. I said, so I explained to him the story basically like I did to you, and I point out to him that what I did, because I knew how to do it, is I eliminated his choices. I said, you came into my shop to look for a dog. I said, you could have looked through every dog, but because I knew how to do it, I eliminated all your other choices and focused it right on that dog. The fact that you got a great dog, that's the secondary part of your experience with me. The primary part of your experience with me is that I eliminated your choices. And I'm just telling you this now so that you understand that when somebody eliminates your choices, you may have a good result. That's okay. But be aware that someone can manipulate your choices and make them smaller so that you do what they want. And that if once you lose your choices, you lose your freedom along with it.
Very true. All right, excellent. Well, Bob, I can't believe that happened. We lost like 1,000 people.
Oh, you mean you're not live streaming anymore?
Oh no, we are live streaming now, but we weren't there for a moment. We weren't there for a moment. It actually started over. Everything started over, and now YouTube is not even allowing me to post links in my own chat. I don't know what the problem is. We're having some issues.
Oh, she could have called up and shut you down. But
hopefully that wasn't it. Hopefully that wasn't it. But yeah, there's I don't know what's going on here. All right, well, Bob, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'm glad that your daughter sounds like she's doing okay. I'm glad that you were eventually able to get her to come home, because that's a very scary proposition. And like you said, you give up your choices, you give up your freedom, and once that happens, then you're only getting one side of the story. I think that it's very popular. I've seen a lot of people who are proponents like to say that, how can you read anything in the mainstream media and any type of media, because we know that it's controlled, so they're under the opinion that they can only get the truth by going directly to the Ramtha School. So I think it would be very difficult to break through, and I think you probably you had a very long fight ahead of you, and I'm glad that it wasn't longer for you.
Yeah, well, I agree with you that, definitely media gets used as a propaganda tool, and it can be. And that's, there's a long history of that going back, hundreds of years. But I think the thing is I can only tell you what I do, and I can suggest it because it keeps you from being, drawn into one media circuit. I might watch CNN one night. Next night I might watch Fox. Next night I watch BBC. Next night I watch PBS. Next night I watch Russian TV. Next night I watch Sino-Vision. Even though I don't understand the language, I can tell by what they're doing in the pictures. You know, some of it is the same story. And so when you watch a variety of different information sources, at least you're able to see where the similarities are, and you see where the differences are, and you can see if they're purposeful or not, or if it's something that's general information. You can start to dissect the information and not necessarily carry it out into that this one place has the truth.
That's right. That's right. You have to get it from a variety of sources. If you're not doing that, then there's no way that you're going to have a balanced view, because every single source is going to bring their own bias, no matter what they say about it. Every presenter is going to have a certain amount of bias towards one opinion or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you're combing information and you want to analyze it, the one thing that you want to do is try and keep your confirmation bias away, so you don't end up being a hammer, where everything starts looking like nails.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of book titles that your people might be interested in reading.
Okay.
And one I have to disclose is a buddy of mine.
Okay.
But I'll tell you where they're from. One is Turnabout, and these are niche books. These are not something that made a bestseller list. They're niche books for people who are interested in this type of subject. And they have to do with intelligence gathering and psychological operations. So one is called Turnabout and Deception, and that was by Barton Whaley.
How do you spell Whaley?
And this is Whaley. And he just passed away maybe 5 years ago or so, but he was a top analyst in the intelligence community, and he was also a magic buff. And he explains how magic is used in the intelligence business and how it informs the intelligence business. And they're very related because they all deal with deception. And every single country and government uses deception and has used deceptions for intelligence purposes and counterintelligence and counterintelligence. So in understanding how that works, and that book really is, if you have to read one book about it, that's probably one of the best ones, because it will let you know what it's all about. So when you look at information, you can put that into your mix. And am I receiving something that is meant to be for me or not? And the other book is The Magician, spelled CIA in Magician. And that's by my buddy Ben Robinson. And it's an analytical biography of true intelligence work. And it was the magician who was helping the CIA. He spent 40 years and worked in 43 countries and did field research into human nature, psychology, that aided the U.S. intelligence in its infancy.
Well, that's pretty interesting.
So, yeah, and the magician was John Mulholland, and it has some stuff about the MK Ultra experiment in there and stuff, and it's all sourced from previously unknown documents, and it's fairly current.
All right, excellent. Any other book recommendations, Bob?
Oh, there are tons, but you know, I'll save them for now. Maybe we'll talk another time.
Yeah, yeah.
But can I listen in on everybody else and kind of?
Well, I'm going to have to hang up this call, but you're welcome to jump back into the Discord and listen in there, or
Okay.
you know, I mean, just go ahead and turn on the live stream and listen to us that way, because there will be a slight delay, and when you turn it on, you'll probably hear your own voice at the end.
Okay. Great.
All right, Bob. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us, and hopefully, you know, maybe you and your daughter would like to come back sometime in the future. You know, I'd be totally open to that.
Okay, cool. That'd be great. I appreciate you having me. Thank you,
sir. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Yep. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you so much to Bob from Life After Ramtha School for Enlightenment. Journey through Ramthaland. We are going to bring in the research crew now because we've got lots and lots of information to go over with regards to this group here. Before we do that, I just need to say a couple of quick thank yous. I need to say thank you to Roaming Star, also to Diana Jesse. She said thank you for your outstanding work. Dylan McConnell left a link. Oh, and they just bounced me, you guys. Where is my live streaming? Okay, all of my things are gone. All of my chats are gone. Only Dr. B remains. Sorry if I missed anyone. I do appreciate you guys. Dr. B said that Jay-Z messed up when she posted her DNA results trying to prove her DNA changes when she channels Ramtha. The results are based on Y chromosome studies. Only men have Y chromosomes, yet both Jay-Z and Ramtha had them. That is pretty... You guys say that my volume is low? Well, I don't have any way to turn up my volume right here. Perhaps it's that I need to turn down my guests because this is as loud as my volume gets. So I'm going to make sure that I keep talking into the mic. Please tell me if this is any better right here. It's difficult when I'm moving around and I'm looking at 3 different monitors and trying to talk directly into the mic. But we're going to go ahead and bring in my friends in the research group right now. We've got AnonT17, we've got Crop Duster, and we've got Jason Woke Up in Vegas. Can each of you please step in and say hello, beginning with AnonT17?
Hey, Red Pill. It's great to be here with you today.
I'm so glad to be here with you as well. Glad you're here. And everybody from Patriots United, Crop Duster, come on and say hello.
Yeah, hey, Red Pill. It's very nice to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you for coming, sir. And Jason Woke Up in Vegas. How are you, Jason?
Good. How you doing, Red Pill?
I'm doing good, brother. Jason, you had wanted to lead us in a prayer. Are you still down to do that? I know that we're in the middle of the program now, but I don't think there's anything wrong in that.
Yeah, no, if it's all right, I'd like to lead us in prayer and kind of state my intentions and if everybody's all right.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Aho, mitakoye oyasin. God, grandfather, creation of all things, it's me, Jason. I come before you as humble as I know how to, grandfather, and ask you to help guide us this evening and help us come from a place of love and gratitude. Help us to be honorable in our search for truth and what we do with the information we acquire. Remind us to ask ourselves the question, will this be good for the whole? I ask you to help unite us in these times and remind us that we are way more effective when we come together for the greater good from a pure godly source. Please help us to be loving, caring, kind, empathetic, and understanding towards all of our brothers and sisters, whether we agree with what they're doing or not. As we use our energy to separate ourselves in this movement from Jay-Z Knight and Ramtha School of Enlightenment, help us to be understanding and not hold judgment against the others on different paths than ours. Help us to not get caught up in our differences, but instead focus on our similarities, grandfather. For our purpose here tonight is to strengthen this family as we continue on this mission, fighting for truth, transparency, and accountability for the generations here, as well as those on their way. I ask you, grandfather, to please protect us and keep our family safe from evil and those trying to do us harm. We say a special prayer for those still entangled in these webs of lies and deception, sugar-coated with a little bit of truth used to control them, grandfather. That they see what it is they need to see to realize everything they are looking for within themselves, grandfather. Let them know you reside in them and that you are enough. Let them feel your love now, God. Let them know we're waiting on them and we'll love them through the healing process. And we are here for them. A special prayer for your children at places like those we speak of that didn't have a choice whether to be there or not. Blanket them with your protection until they are rescued from evil, Grandfather. As the world shifts, please protect our brave brothers and sisters who are risking their lives for the greater good of the whole. Please bring them home safe to us and continue to protect the president, guiding him to serve your will, Grandfather, and not his own. Aho, mitako ye oyasin. Amen.
Jason, thank you very much for that. And I have people, of course, asking questions in the audience. Do you have Native American ancestry?
Yeah, I have a little bit. I grew up praying those ways. I went to church as a child with my grandma, and I know God. I believe in God. I know He's inside me, and I know He's there. And I never found Him in church yet, and I'm still deciphering all the information. But I found Him in sweat lodges and up on the hill, and when I go walk outside, and when I'm here in my living room, and yeah, it's a little different.
Well, here's the thing is that God is the creator of all things. So, much like yourself, when I go anywhere, when I look at another person, I know that God is present. I know that God exists just because of that fact. Because to me, in my mind, there's absolutely no possible way that we could not have our Lord, our Father, the Lord, our God, if it wasn't for the very existence of each and every one of us all around us. So I can totally appreciate that. So let's get into the sauce, you guys. Were you able to listen along? Did you hear Bob when we were speaking earlier?
Yeah, Red Pill, I did, and I feel that it's real important to listen to some of these members or ex-members. I call them survivors, and some of the stories that they've shared with us over the last couple of weeks have just been mind-boggling to say the least. And it's just important to hear the other side and hear what people are going through out there and the experiences that they've learned from. And when you're a researcher, you have to look at both sides and try to get a full um, reality of what's going on out there before you make a decision and choose what's right and what's wrong. But I definitely feel that everything that Q has taught us since the first beginning in November of 2017 this is a battle of good versus evil. And good and evil exist everywhere in the world, and it's also infiltrated into our political system. Q has told us that many times. Are the world leaders worshiping Satan?
I completely agree. I think it's fairly obvious when you're looking around and you see the way that they are marginalizing God, the idea of God at its heart. They're pushing people softly towards atheism and now pretty openly towards Satanism and Luciferianism. I see it all the time. The images we've been shown with HRC and Chelsea wearing upside down crosses. Whatever you want to say, I know what that means. I think that everyone knows exactly what that means. But if you were to go back just 20 years, I could not imagine. There would be an uproar across the country from people wearing that type of symbolism out there. But now it's just commonplace.
Well, and that's exactly right. And they've desensitized us to all of that. In your videos, in your TV, Hollywood, just every aspect, they just make it as if it's normal. They're almost making us feel as if we're not normal if we don't agree with their mindset and with their what they believe in. It's forced upon us at every.
It is. It's forced upon us. It's forced upon our children. It's in popular culture. Every time you turn something on TV, there's a show on Fox that was just recently canceled and picked up by Netflix, nonetheless. Netflix, who have some people from the former president's administration on the board of directors. A show called Lucifer, portraying Satan as a sympathetic figure. It's just mind-boggling.
Well, excuse me. Not only that, AnonT17 and some of us were digging the other day, come to find out it looks like Disney has their hands in Pornhub and own Pornhub as well. And if you go there and you search and you just search Disney, you have all the Disney cartoon characters doing porn. It's freaking crazy.
that is very, very distressing. I just remembered here, James Rohrback had also given a super chat earlier. I didn't say good thank you to James Rohrback. Yeah, there seems to be a progression here. They take children, very, very young. They raise them on these Disney characters. They have these Disney, actors and these preteens, and then as they get older, they gradually sexualize them, and then they push them from like a teen darling type role into a very overly sexualized female adult role. We've seen it in people like Miley Cyrus or I can't even remember the other ones right now, but many examples of pop singers starting off as little girls, and then as soon as they can, they pump them out into these very, very adult roles. So it seems like there's just this conveyor belt of consumption for entertainment materials, and they get them when they're children, and then as soon as they become adults, they start feeding them something entirely different.
Exactly, and it's bled over and infiltrated. I'm not sure if it's infiltrated the political arena or vice versa, but either way, the two coexist together, and they seem to be a happy marriage together. If we look at all the corruption with these politicians, this is exactly what 18 months of what research and QAnon has taught us, is to identify. We are witnessing the destruction of the old guard. And part of that is identifying the political aspect of this. And that's where I feel real strongly that JZ Knight is the old guard. She's got 35 years of proven corruption, political affiliation at every level. It's just incredible. And it's just so obvious. It's simple research. If you look out into Thurston County, and I want to give credit to a few agents, a few news companies. If you look into Freedom Foundation, they have been fighting and just getting transparency out there. We the Governed People.com has some excellent sauce, is what we call it. I mean, it doesn't take much to look. But I guess my point is, if the way the political arena works nowadays, with the Democratic Party especially, is they don't just give mass amounts of money. And we're talking Jay-Z in the 2016 election in Thurston County, 4 Democrats gave $54,000, which was, I'm reading, this just was squandered to $15,000 a month for rent for one person. And these people that they're supporting are known convicted people. They're as dirty as can be. One of them has a charge for selling drugs in a school zone, and they're still supporting them, getting them money, and trying to put them in office.
Wow. I mean, obviously, it seems that the reason they would support somebody like that is because there's somebody who can go ahead and shove their agenda through. Somebody that they can control. I found a story myself with regard to a former chief of staff, Jay Manning, busted by Attorney General for hiding financial documents. This was a story related to financial mismanagement and the RSE school. It was the director of a super PAC, her super PAC that was used to fund her political anointees. Here it is. Jay Manning, busted by one of Washington State's campaign finance laws, director of ecology and former chief of staff for Governor Gregoire as well. So it looks like her political ties, I mean, it goes all the way straight up to the top. Do we know how much money has been pumped in from RSE into local politics there in Washington?
From what I read, it was $54,000 in the 2016 election period, and over $250,000 over the last few years. Which, I mean, that is just a lot of money. And I don't think that these people give that type of money without expecting something in return.
And we also found donations up until the end of 2018. So she's still donating to the Democratic Party and supposedly.
Yeah, I had seen some type of literature from RSE that said, remember, if you vote Democrat, it's about your future. If you vote Republicans, it's about your past. Something like that. It seemed like it was kind of threatening to me almost. But like we were talking with Bob earlier, it's a Democrat stronghold there in Washington State. So you know, I mean, if she truly was a Republican and she's, you know, supporting Donald Trump or, you know, it had conservative leanings, you would think that maybe she would be trying to pump money into Republicans in the state of Washington rather than just supporting the people who are already in power.
And actually, it's so bad out in Washington. I mean, this is the beast of the belly for political. It just the wickedness that's acceptable out there between Washington and Oregon. From the research, it's just horrible out there, and the mindset people are accepting.
Yes, yes, very much. I do need to say thank you to Kimberly Bogan as well. She said, Team Bogan back in Colorado. Love RP78. Much better guest tonight. You did a great job dealing with those two last night. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, Kim and Kev. You know, and one of the things we wanted to do tonight, you guys, is, you know, I mean, I know that last night was stressful, probably for a lot of us, but I think that the show served its purpose, or rather the purpose that it needed to serve, maybe not exactly what I intended for it to serve, but I think that really tonight we want to focus on, you know, uniting the group again. You know, what can we do to start working together towards this common goal? And I think that if we're going to be honest with ourselves, if we're going to be talking about exposing corruption, this very subject is something that we cannot ignore.
Red pill. See, this is the thing with our, you know, with the QAnon movement. It's all about truth and transparency.
Yes.
And even no matter how uncomfortable it may seem, even in our own movement, you know, we've watched this on 4chan, 8chan, basically watched it slowly get infiltrated. What people got to understand, people are a part of this movement, but the evil can still seep within. And that's what we're dealing with now. I mean, Ramtha came up unexpectedly, and actually, you know, Q said everything we need has been in front of us all along, and it didn't take us long to start, you know, connecting the dots with this. And this is where we're at now today. And thank God we are, because I would not wanted to see where this would have ended up if we would have waited a little bit longer.
No, me either. That was, you know, the reason that I wanted to call for these shows this weekend, because I could see this happening. You know, I knew a little bit about this this group from prior, you know, just research, just checking things out online. And as I saw this movement from, you know, that message to this other message that was kind of trying to coincide with ours, it was pretty obvious to me that it was, you know, they were trying to come in and they were trying to co-opt the movement. Like we've been told, there have been others that have tried to do this very thing. I don't see anything different going on here.
Well, and that brings me to the point. I mean, we're in these times right now where can we name one thing that evil has not infiltrated itself in? Give me one group. We're going through it right now with Q, the last chance at saving humanity with the president of the United States right now and what we're doing. And our movement was infiltrated. Everything has been infiltrated by evil.
Yeah, it's very, very common, you know. Unfortunately, it's all too common, and I don't think that this is going to be the last time that something like this happens. I think that every time somebody tries, they take what they can learn and they try to refine their technique for the next opportunity.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I just want to say real quick, guys, we follow God. Q gives us enough information in the breadcrumbs, and if we're not lazy, we can do our own research and come to the same understanding that these certain individuals that are finding an opportunity to monetize through and finding vulnerabilities, because we're still gullible when we get here looking for truth, because we're given some truth here with an agenda. But when we're not following and we encourage each other to do the own research and come up with our own understanding, we're not put in these situations as often.
You just vigilant and very, you know, this is one thing that Q also tells us, you know, stay vigilant. They want us divided. And it is, the Patriots are in control. And if people would understand that, you know, we want unity. We want to all end up at the same place. We all have the same, you know, motive of where we want to be at the end of this. And this is in God's path. But, you know, we got to call out the evil, even when we see it, no matter how hard it is or how much it hurts. You know, the truth hurts sometimes. And if we have to call out one of our
I agree, AnonT17. You know, however uncomfortable it may be, if you've got a question about something and somebody is not able to give you an adequate answer, I mean, I think that's probably the answer you're looking for right there. You know, I see that we've definitely got people in the audience who think that just by virtue of the fact that we're asking these questions or that we have discussed these things, it means that we're trying to divide people in the movement. That's absolutely not what I want to do. I want everyone to come together, but you know, I think that we have to ask these tough questions. You have to make yourself aware. Research doesn't just stop just because we all, you know, met each other and people say, you know, hey, guess what? I believe the same things as you. And then they try to sneak something else in, or they try to tell us that if we are to you know, ask questions, if we don't absolutely take the exact same hardline stance as them, then we must be dividers. That's just not the case.
You know, Red Pill, with that said, you know, I think I would look at things differently. If I had an invite to head out to RSE, to the school out there, I think I would take that opportunity to explain some of the good things that we've learned to them, explain to them where we're coming from, not go out there and talk about pace wars and other things, but to have that opportunity to go out there and effect change within that community. It needs it just as much as, you know, everybody else. But if you get the opportunity to go out there, make the most out of it.
I agree.
You know, in the movie White Squall, the beginning statement that where we go one, we go all follows behind it says, if we don't have order, we don't have nothing. Where we go one, we go.
That's an excellent point. You know, if you have not seen that movie, I would absolutely suggest that everyone take a look at it and see what that's about. You know, I think that we all have the opportunity to be a part of the we, but the we does not encapsulate everyone. The we that we're talking about does not encapsulate Luciferians, to be certain. Would anyone agree with me on that or disagree with me on that?
100%. Some of those, you got to draw a line somewhere and correct that. What's happening to our children and just around the world that's being accepted as the normal, people need to stand up for that. And I've been here in Austin, Texas. We go to the pro-life rallies all the time. There's a lot of people that are standing up now, and we just need to unite our voice and stand up and be firm about it. That's what we're doing. We're affecting change here.
And I'll tell you what it means to me. You know, where we go one, we go all. It means that when you have a unit or a group, everyone in that group needs to move in synchronicity in order for that group to function at its full potential. And the actions of one individual in the collective group can change the course or even the intent of that group, making it very important that where the one wants to go, the rest of the group does as well. And when we're all on the same page and are all collectively operating, moving together, then where we go one, we go all comes into play. In my opinion, it doesn't mean go get everyone and bring them where we're going if they aren't already on board and wanting to go, until someone wants to be a part of something and is contributing to that group in the same way that the group's already operating, then it can be very dangerous to the group and end up destroying it from within.
That's right. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And you guys, I just noticed that a couple of times, just hold the button until after you're done talking and then release it, because we've gotten a couple of your statements cut off there at the very end. I need to say thank you to Michael Kenny. He said the beauty of Q is that removing the corrupt powerful will also prevent groups like Ramtha from being allowed to exist and thrive in the first place. That's a very good point. And Lady Warrenon just gave a super chat. Thank you very much. Yeah, you know, and the thing that really strikes me is when we're told that, you know, we need to research, we need to think for ourselves, and then other people come along and say, don't ask questions, don't tell me, you know, how I feel. You know, nobody's telling anybody how you feel when we ask a question. If we want to be true to ourselves and we're going to be researchers here, we have to know all the facts, and we have to fully understand exactly what people's motives are when they're making choices like this.
Well, and it's our responsibility to hold each other accountable as well.
Yes.
Exactly, and I think Red Pill, you said it best last night when you said, "Where we go one, we go all." But if you have a sailor down on the bottom drilling a hole and it's going to sink the ship, the other ones have to stop it. And I also think it's important to remember Q post 2938. How do you repair a bridge without closing it down? That's a tough question, but we need to find answers to those questions. But sometimes it's right to ask.
That's right. You know, the only way I can think of that you would repair a bridge without shutting it down. I mean, there is no way to repair a bridge without shutting it down. I mean, perhaps you could do a detour around it to a temporary bridge. But, I mean, at a certain point, you know, I mean, I think there is a necessary point where you have to, you know, shut down and regroup. Let's see. Tanette says, wow, I can't believe how judgmental everyone is. We don't know Jay-Z's side. Nobody using logical thinking. Two sides people. Well, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we gathered here to talk about tonight. Obviously, we are not in Jay-Z Knight's mind, so we don't know what she's thinking. But we have done as much research as we possibly can. Did you guys have some specific things that you wanted to present to us tonight?
I just want to make sure that people look into the political aspect that's going on with Jay Z Knight. That should answer all the questions that you have to be affiliated. This is exactly what we are trying to remove and purge from our political system. The corruption that's involved there. I mean, 30 years of this pattern. It just all the way up to 2016. It's documented. It just needs to be identified, addressed, and we need to find a way to unite, but to approach it cordially and just address it and discuss it. You have to have that discussion, or else it's not going to be repaired.
I would agree there. You know, I think that for me personally, the research that I've done looking into videos published by the group, you know, perhaps the changing accent that Ramtha has affected over the years, I find that interesting. I think that the harsh statements that have been made about specific ethnic groups and peoples, I think that those are very telling. I think that the things that have come out along those lines are pretty evident, and then also the firsthand testimonies of people that have left the group and then come forward to talk about their experiences.
Well, first, let me say that, you know, in the book, you know, because doing the research, I got the book. I reached out to Bob from Enlighten Me. I started looking into what the Belief Do We Know book, and there's a lot of beautiful information that is stuff that me personally I believe in, and different energies and different things like that. Now, what happens is, just like any other group, it's dressed up with a little bit of truth to get you in for their own agenda. I don't know her agenda. I haven't found it out yet. But what gets me is she blames, that's her scapegoat. Anytime something happens at that school, or the guy that killed himself, it was blamed on Ramtha, or she doesn't remember it was Ramtha there. And then, you know, they encourage, what about the case for the molested people that they're told if they get molested, then that's the experience. The molester and the molestee need to be brought together for that experience. What is that?
Yeah, we have a testimony here from a former member of RSE. And it says, from early on, I was instilled with a massive guilt complex because I was taught that everything that happens in my life is my fault. Now I understand cause and effect, but this went so far as to explain that me being hit by a theoretical drunk driver would be just as much my fault as because I was in the right place at the right time. I can't say that I picked up anything positive from the whole experience other than not believing in everything that I hear. On top of this, the school is a gargantuan melting pot for all full-blown conspiracies and such. I was told that reptiles rule the government, and we've been sold out to the gray aliens. That's just one example right there.
To the lizard people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think that, you know, anytime I hear that, that's almost immediately something that I think that's thrown in to discredit, because it's something that can't be proven, you know, and it automatically makes people just, you know, seem kind of off balance.
So, Sorry, Jason. Red Pill, do you mind if I read something that to address the division? I want to read a quote, some of the teachings from Ramtha that I feel would explain a lot of what their ideology is in this. But
Please.
now, okay, and this is Ramtha's writings. Now I could tell you, as myself, as a conqueror, you divide your army into assets. The most talented, who does what best. This group has long been thought of as the mind of the gladiator, just like the little title says. These are the gladiators. These are not remediatory anonymous. They are not technologies ignominious. They are not anons. They are not what they are called autists. No, that is one part of the army. There are other parts of the army called gladiators, and that is Ramtha's army. I always told you this was an army. Ramtha's people is an army. How many of you remember that? So be that. I mean, it clearly states that it's division, division, division. And how can we support that? How can we accept money from somebody that their teachings are division?
And I don't know if anybody ever caught on to what she said on a live about God's people, God's chosen ones.
Yes.
That was even alarming. I mean, if you're going to be on Q Army, you have to be pro God and pro God's chosen.
Right, right. You know, and one of the things that we brought up yesterday was the seemingly strong connections between RSE and NXIVM, the group that headed by Keith Raniere that is on trial right now. We had, what was it, a director or a movie producer, Mark Vicente. He's testifying in court right now as to his relationship in the group and his relationship with Keith Raniere and his group. And he's not alone. He wasn't the only person who came over from that group and then also joined up with NXIVM. And I have to imagine that that's not by chance. You know, I think that there must be some level of interplay and interconnection between these two groups for them to be kind of interchangeable.
Well, it says it right there in the capstone, what their agenda is. And that's what's alarming to me is from the beginning, it seems like she's an opportunist, and the information that we've gathered and coming across all this, it seems like as soon as she, you know, because if you go YouTube and you look out that 1985 Merv Griffin interview where she supposedly turns into Ramtha, if you guys haven't seen that, I'd encourage you to go watch it. So when you watch that, she talks about this great awakening, you know, that we've been waiting for anyway. And like she's just waiting for the opportunity. And as soon as it happens, it's like she puts, whether she put them there from the beginning or she found who she can monetize and buy, and whether they know her agenda or not, and they think they're just going there to share information, she has an agenda. I mean, we've seen that over 30 years, and you know, it hasn't been a good one yet.
Hey,
No.
Red Pill, you mentioned Mark Vicente, and that was one of the directors of What the Bleep Do We Know? So there's a direct attachment to Ramtha there and the School of Enlightenment.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, and there was actually 3 others along with him that also attended Ramtha.
Yeah, like I said, there's more than a couple. There's quite a few. There's quite a few people. So, what other interesting things have you guys come across in your digging on this group? I know we had mentioned that the priest yesterday, the fact that there was the defrocked priest from Ireland that had gained sanctuary at RSE. I think that right there is, you know, reason enough to look at it with a, you know, a deeper lens, because, you know, that to me is one of the reasons, you know, that we're in this fight together. I mean, we're fighting to save the children.
In this research that we've done, I'm telling you, out of all the digs that we've had since Q has started posting, this one here has been there's more information out. 35 years worth on Jay-Z Knight. It's just unbelievable. Everywhere we go, it opens up another rabbit hole, another one, another one, another one. It's just it makes your head spin. There's so much. But the Michael Ledwith is the one that you're talking about. They enjoyed having him there. It was like a victory to them, and that he was well convicted of child. He was a pedophile, and they brought him in with open arms, and it's just unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah, in 1994, Raymond alleged that he was abused by Monsignor Ledwith in the early 80s, and when he was 13 years of age until after his 15th birthday. And then it looks like this, and then he came to, no, I'm sorry, this is when he came into Ramtha. He was able to get away with it as through the church in England, and then come here and get sanctuary in Yelm, Washington, and he was able to get away with it again. And this is the actual quote: "Thus, the one who needs to be abused and the one who needs to be the abuser because he needs to understand it are brought together for the experience." You know, I understand, to a certain degree that there is predestination in the world. You know, all things happen under God, but I take issue with that. I cannot believe that there is any reality in which we can live and say that there is any child that needs to be abused or there is any person who needs to do abusing. I cannot buy into that.
And you're not the only one, Red Pill.
Looks like maybe we lost Crop Duster.
He might have been a little robo. He should be signing back in.
There he is. Crop Duster, you back with us?
yeah, hey, I'm sorry if I lost connection there. I had a control R. He was an advisor to Pope John Paul II.
He
and
was.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So what I'm seeing is that we're going to be vulnerable because as more stuff comes out, even and I'm Catholic, even on the Catholic religion and a lot of other faiths, as all this starts to get exposed, which it needs to, this needs to be addressed, and we need to shine the light on it. But these people are going to be looking for fellowships. They're going to be looking for open arms, and they're probably going to get out of some of the churches. And the last place I feel inside my heart is that we need to send them to this school, which is supporting, endorsing pedophilia, Nexium, and channeling. I mean, this is the last place that I feel that patriots that I love should be introduced to.
Another thing that really that gave me pause with this is, not only the messages that we've had about people trying to co-opt the movement, but in our research on looking into RSE, the obvious moves that this group has made in the past to reach out to people for legitimacy, making themselves more palatable just to the general public, so that they can, by bringing in celebrities and things like that. Newly Enlightened says, "The subject scares me to still have people that are successful in controlling and demeaning others. We live in an age where there are so many more positive relationships. Too many people are lost." I do believe that. I do believe that. But, we've got, the case of, what was her name? The Linda Evans, movie star Linda Evans, joining the group. It looked like potentially there's a connection to Roseanne. I don't know that maybe Roseanne just wasn't there and took a picture with her, or if Roseanne is actually a follower. I would hope not. But all of these different opportunities that they've had to reach out and grab legitimacy from people in a variety of celebrity statuses, they've done that. So that's what I was, afraid was potentially happening this time.
Well, and that reminds me, and I just dropped a link for another murder investigation she was in that got out of. We look at the Clintons, the Obamas, the deep state, and these powerful families that have never been held accountable for anything. How has she been getting away with this for 30-something years, guys? Who is she connected to? What's their agenda? It's the same the same deep state stuff we're fighting against.
And the same behavior, and then also the same behavior with witnesses and people that would come to talk against her. She'd either hit them with slander or have gag orders. She would be so quick to slap you with a lawsuit just to cover everything that she's been doing.
Exactly, you hit it over the head. This is strong arm tactics. She has a think tanks of attorneys that will hit you so quick on everything. She suppresses all the information, all the videos. I mean, Thurston County, look at Freedom Foundation. They just got won in court and were able to release all the videos that they claim are edited, but she won't supply the original ones to justify that. But it's slander. They will slander you. They will hit you with attorneys. Red Pill, when I first went out with this information, I was very fortunate to have John B. Wells on Caravan to Midnight. It allowed us to get up there and talk about this and expose it. The very next day, they called me and said, we need documentation of everything that you had said on the show, that Jay-Z's attorneys were already hitting them trying to get the video taken off. And people, I need you to know we need to support people like John B. Wells, because he told me, he says, we're not going to be silenced. We're going to let the message get out. We're not taking that video down. And he says, we'll win. We'll win in court. But the process of that winning that is going to cost so much money. I felt bad. But you know what? That video is still up there, and he's a patriot. I support him, and I thank him for putting that up there. But it's strong arm tactics. And I kid you not, she has already been slandering me with things that I have done 18 years ago that were dismissed, but she's slandering me on it. I got a message from her telling me that her lawyers were going to contact me. It's unbelievable.
That's pretty telling right there, when they're looking to keep things under wraps so much that they're going to go after somebody on a personal level like that. Real quick, Paul Marshall said, United we stand, trust in God. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that donation, buddy. Also, Monica Fairchild said, we have to protect the reputation of the movement in any nonviolent means necessary. I appreciate you questioning folks in order to do so. So, yeah, as soon as anyone goes and speaks out and just wants to give a viewpoint to the contrary, this has been their tactic all along, hasn't it, Crop Duster? They see what they can do to attack you on a personal level, to defame you, and to make it just easier to discredit anything that you're saying.
Exactly. Attack the messenger and don't address the message. It's Democrat Playbook 101, and that's all I've been seeing for a month.
So, real quick,
Like
guys,
we say, smoke and mirrors.
Real quick, guys, if I can say this,
please,
please. This causes a lot of division when we do this to each other, and some information gets out, and we support somebody, so we share the information to hurt the other person, to validate why we're supporting the one person, right? If we're true in this movement, I've doxed myself from the beginning so you guys didn't have power over it, is what I did. I've been to prison 3 separate times, and I have 20-something felony convictions in my past, and was a drug addict for 20-something years, and I've been clean for about 4 years now. And it's about what I'm doing today, guys. It's about what are we doing today. We've all been tricked by this system in one way, form, or fashion or the other, whether we've been manipulated, whether we've been controlled. It's all been part of the agenda, and that's why we're here fighting. That's why a lot of us here have even sacrificed our own family members to be here in this fight, because we won't stand for it. So to bring up old stuff, we're contributing to this deep state agenda of the division. And when we can quit doing that, and if Matrix or Shady or whoever else in the movement were to call and say, hey man, I made a mistake, can you guys help me through this? Then that's our responsibility to do.
I completely agree with that. You know, who among us has not made mistakes? You know, I mean, what's important is that you redeem yourself from those mistakes, you know, and like, you know, Jason, I think that was an excellent idea. You know, I mean, if nobody can have power over you if you take ownership of whatever it is that you've got in your past. So that's awesome. I really commend you for that. Jason, I've had a couple of people saying that you are very quiet. Is it possible for you to turn up your mic on your end? I've got everyone turned up all the way on my end.
Not, I just want to add to that. I mean, we're all human. We're all learning. This is never, what's happening right now has never happened in the history of the world. So nobody has the tactics, the battle plan. We're in uncharted territories, and sometimes it feels like it's where we go one, we go all, unless you disagree with certain people's messages, and that's not right. I still accept everybody. We're all one, but we need to make some good decisions here. But Q has told us repeatedly this is good versus evil. The first Q drop on Colts was Q drop 100. That was early November. That was like the first couple weeks of the QAnon post. I mean, we need to realize that there's 18 Q drops regarding Colts. This is not something that has not been addressed. It was addressed from the very early days, and if we look into what's going on with this world and the satanic infiltration of everything, every aspect of our lives, we need to identify it. When we see it, we need to be accepting to these people when they say, "Look, we went the wrong way. We see it now." We have open arms to them then, but we need to make sure that we correct this now because what's happening in our country is not right. It needs to be addressed. And if we have an opportunity to go out to Ramtha School of Enlightenment, let's discuss that with them.
And we also got to remember too, the whole point of this mission is, we want to clean up this corruption. We want a better world for us, our children, our grandchildren. We're not trying to let the evil infiltrate back into what we're trying to fight so hard to get rid of. We want to end this. We want to squash this. We want to all be unified. And it's basically, we can't do that if we keep sitting there and still have the same behaviors of we're afraid to say this or we're afraid to say that, because whatever the case may be, because we're going to end up right back where we were before. And what's this?
You're right, AnonT17. It's just going to be another case of meet the new boss, same as the old boss. I mean, we don't want to find ourselves, just with a different form of tyranny rewrapped in a more palatable flag.
No, and how's that, guys? Is my mic a little bit?
Sounds good to me. Go ahead and speak, and we'll look for a 5x5 from the audience on Jason's audio.
All right. I just, we have a responsibility to each other and to this group as a unit, right? And we make decisions together. Like when we're in our researchers group or our groups on Facebook or our digger groups on the 8chans, and when we're working together, if you guys notice how much more powerful that work is when I take the I out of it and I'm working with the team. I've never even read the Q clock because I don't understand how to read it. I don't know how to decode, but I know my part here and I'm okay with that. And when we come together, we have a responsibility to work as a unit in this and ask the questions and not run off half-cocked and do what we want to do.
I think that's an excellent point. Each of us has our strengths and our weaknesses, and I think that we work best when we are working together as a unit, as a group. We each need to determine, what exactly that is. I mean, we've got some researchers that are very strong on the Q clock. That's a very important aspect of it, and then we've got other people that are just good doing digging. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a platform to bring information to people like this. I feel very blessed with this, but I understand exactly what you're saying, and I think you're right on, my friend.
Well, and another thing is mainstream media has been dying to find something to attach to our president, something to bring them down. Racism. I mean, this has all the fruits of evil. I mean, racism, channeling, just pedophiles, Nexium. Why would we even give them any ammo to use against our president by attaching us to this in any way? They're dying to do that, and I see that for what it is, and I hope that we can put a stance down that we don't support that and we don't agree with that.
You're totally right there. I was reading in an article earlier. So you guys, hold on. I need to get muffin. One moment. I was reading in an article earlier talking about the fact that JZ Knight has been traditionally a supporter of Democratic candidates in her area, and it stated explicitly if her her habitual rantings towards particular ethnic groups had happened while she was supporting Republican candidates, the mainstream media would be up in arms. And they would be all over it, and they would be reporting on it, and they would be just absolutely just slaughtering those Republicans in the mainstream media. And now that it has come to the point where there's trying to be a merger of our two groups, I think that that's exactly what it's going to be, and that's the kind of thing that we saw in that Daily Beast article.
Well, even the Democrats are making a separation from JZ Knight, and it seems that some of them are even being forced to give the money back. I mean, it's out there. I mean, if Democrats know to return the money, what does that say, guys?
Yeah, if a Democrat won't take the money, that's yeah. And Q tells us symbolism will be their downfall. What's that triangle with the eye in the middle of it? What's that represent?
This is why vigilance is very important. You have to stay vigilant. Q tells us that all the time. See something, say something. That means something.
Exactly. We do have a responsibility to speak up and to question these things. I mean, I think that it's natural, especially with the type of work that we're doing. I mean, think for yourselves, research. We are supposed to use our own discernment, and this immediately just felt wrong to me.
Well, once again, how do you close a bridge, or how do you repair a bridge without closing it down? That's been what's weighing heavy on my heart for the last month, trying to discuss what's going on here. And I think we all just need to realize that sometimes we make bad decisions, but it's not too late. Shady Matrix, I'm just saying, you guys are not out there yet. Make a change. I don't see that this is right, guys.
Yeah, and we were all and still are a family. We spent a lot of time together, and our intention here was never one out of malice or harm. It was really tough for us. We did a lot of research, and we prayed about it, and we cried about it, and we stayed up all night about it, and we asked each other, and we talked about it if it would be best for the whole. If it would be best for the whole. And when we decided it would, then we came out. And I reached out to Shady, and I still do, and Shady and Matrix, and you guys, if you're listening tonight, like, I love you guys, and I would encourage you to just step back for a minute and see how this looks, and maybe readdress it, and let's let this Nexium type thing play out and get done, and let's see what's really going on there, and maybe address it in a different way and do it together, and that way collectively we can be on the same page here.
I would agree with you there. I do have a couple of super chats I need to say thank you for. Spencer5513 said, sounds like a regular Democrat. That was during our earlier conversation. And Tanette Booth says, Matrix, Shady, Neon, Jay-Z, Praying Medic, Joe M, Serial Brain 2, etc. are not our enemies. Unite against the deep state, please. I think that this is exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about uniting under the same mission. And I, for one, I'm going to go on record. I'm not telling anyone to not trust someone. I am telling people that it is our responsibility to do our research and to make up our minds. If people are defaming certain people in the chat, please, you guys, I would ask you to refrain from doing that. I want it to be a positive show, I mean, when it comes down to the heart of it, I want us to think about what that means, to work together towards a common goal under the same banner. Not striking out on our own and telling us that we are wrong if we question what someone is doing under the guise of this movement. I think that it is our responsibility to ask that very question.
It is. This has been a learning experience, and we're getting better as it goes. But one thing that did catch my eye is the first response from several people after the Neon Revolt article was why didn't they or Neon just reach out to people in the back channels, and that needs to change. If we recall, I remember Trump brought in Pelosi and Schumer to discuss things. And then he said he'd bring the press in, and they weren't expecting it. And then I remember Pelosi's face. But the point was that Trump made was transparency. You don't, and the whole time Pelosi's sitting here going, "Well, turn the cameras off, Mr. President. Let's go in the back and discuss it." We have went to the back rooms to discuss things too many times in our history. These things need to be transparent in front of the people. If you can't discuss our future with us hearing, then you don't need to be there. So to apply that same thing, to hear people say, "Why didn't Neon reach out in the back and discuss things in a back channel?" That's just wrong. Those are things that need to be changed in this country as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Brad Pill. I was just going to say that I lost my thought when I was going to let you go.
Not a problem, buddy. Let's see. My friend White Hat says, White Hat works behind the scenes too. Welcome the help. White Hat, we need to get you back on the show here soon, buddy. And then Nathan Scheil asked, what is the Democrats' end game? Well, I mean, I can tell you what I think the Democrats' end game is. I think that they are working to have complete and total control over every aspect of our lives. They are working towards implementing a communist state here in America, with Satanism at its core as our religion. You know, I don't know if people are aware of this, but Satanism was the foundation for Karl Marx and communism. They go hand in hand. It was written and publicized as atheism because they thought that Satanism would be too difficult for people to digest immediately. So it was done with the idea that the end result was going to be Satanism being brought in once they had total communist control over the world, America, and all these other countries.
And that's well said. And I think one of the biggest tools that they're going to use, and I'm seeing used on Patriots as we speak, is censorship. We got to keep our eyes open on the First Amendment. Censorship, if you're only seeing one side of the argument, everybody's going to think, well, it must be okay. Let's just jump on the bandwagon. That's not the case. I mean, I remember in one of the first months of this movement, we worked on the Internet Bill of Rights. We need to go back to that. Let's get that. We have a template. Let's get it to the right people. Censorship is going to be the death of our of everything we stand for. If we can't get out there and express our feelings without censorship, we don't have a chance.
Censorship is a huge issue. Jason, did you remember that thought that you wanted to interject earlier?
Yeah, I got that nugget for you guys. I've got some friends in the audience tonight, some older ones, and I've stated it to them. And, for my new ones out there, as a brother and sister and a friend, I expect you guys to hold me accountable too. Like if any point, like if you see the ego getting involved or you see me going off a wrong way that doesn't look like it's best for the whole, I rely on you guys to tell me, because sometimes we get overwhelmed. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with things and I don't see as clearly as you guys do. So I count on you, and I would appreciate that if anybody out there sees that, to step out and say that.
Dr. B had pointed something out earlier, that there was so we have Linda, I'm sorry, what was her name? Linda, the actress, Linda Evans, that was part of RSE, Catherine Oxenberg, who she worked with, which was very deeply involved with NXIVM. So you have this parallel tract of people involved in these two groups at the same time who are very close to each other, and then that's where there's a bit of the crossover.
Divide the army to conquer the purpose, kind of like the capstone of Ramtha, huh?
Oh, yeah, actually, do you have a copy of that you could read to us?
That's actually what I was reading earlier. I can read it again if you...
Please do, yeah.
All right, and if you scroll up in the Discord, it's got the red top on it, and it's just one of the teachings. I'm not sure this is classified as the capstone. This is a requirement to get the capstones. I haven't been out there. So this is Ramtha speaking. Now I could tell you, as myself, as a conqueror, you divide your army into assets, the most talented who does what's best. This group has long been thought of as a mind of the gladiator. Just like the title says, these are the gladiators. They are not rudimentary anonymous. They are not technogenius anonymous. They are not anons. They are not. What they are called autist. No, that is on part of the army. There is another part of the army called the gladiators, and that's Ramtha's army. I always told you this was an army. Ramtha's people is an army. How many of you remember that? So be that. And then it continues. It says, now I could have called you a following. I could have called you a student body. I could have called you a student of great work, which I have, of course. But how many of you remember me calling you an army? So be it. I mean, it's almost like a twisted Bible scripture. This is what I consider their creed. They want to divide their assets up. It's just, it gives me chills just to read that stuff. And I don't know how anybody in this movement can sign on to this as being acceptable.
You know, here's one of the things that I wanted to mention too, because I see there are people who are students of RSE that are in the chat tonight. And I think it's difficult for them to see us talking about it in this way. And I can understand that. One of the things that I've seen people say is that they've gotten a lot out of RSE. And I think that one of the things that successful groups like this do is they take teachings and ideas from so many different places and they just repackage it in another way. So it's not that there isn't something positive that you could get out of this, but when you're talking about this as a way of life, it's just another means of control. So there could be positive elements, but then you've got other things like, the idea of drinking lye. That's clearly not a good idea. Or the idea that, your arm is going to heal itself. By the way, Lady Waranon asked for prayers because she's got a broken wrist that won't heal. I certainly wish for healing and the light of God to come down on that and take care of that for you. But I'd still say go see a doctor.
And I'm sorry, Red Pill, my mic kind of went off there. There was one last part after what I had read there, and it's quote unquote from Ramtha. So you are part of the takedown that is going to happen over 2 years. I mean, that's a key part. And I apologize I didn't get that in. But, how can anybody say that this is, okay, it's not a specific religious, but Q has told us nonstop, this is good versus evil. Our president, Trump, has said many times that this is a battle versus good versus evil.
And I want to say real quick too, it wasn't an attack, and thank you guys for being here tonight. That says a lot about your character for participating in this. So thank you for allowing us to come together in this way. And, our intention, it wasn't to discredit the Ramtha School and her teachings. What had happened was this movement, this Q movement, and where we go one, we go all, is very important to a lot of us. A lot of us have sacrificed family members in different relationships during this right now. We don't sleep, we don't eat, we don't communicate with our loved ones a lot of times. We are wrapped up in the obsession and the compulsiveness of it. So what our concern was that with all the bad press already, that the media, as soon as they could get a chance to destroy the one thing we have left at saving humanity, that they would do that. And it wasn't okay with a lot of us. So I love you guys, and I consider you guys family as well. And, like I said, thank you guys for participating tonight.
And go ahead, Anon.
Yeah, and exactly what Jason said. The mainstream media has been attacking Q. They've been attacking any Q followers, any pretty much pro-Trump. So, like he said, we baby this mission. This is very, very important to us. A lot of us have put a lot of hard work into it. And we don't want to give the swamp any more reason to attack us more than what they are already. So we have to be very protective of who we let destroy what we have here, to put us in the spotlight as negative, because we don't need that.
No, we don't. And a lot of people pointed out to me yesterday that, it doesn't matter what we do. We're still going to be portrayed in this light. Well, like you just said, we do not need to add fuel to the fire in this particular instance.
Well,
No,
not
what we need is to link us to a cult.
Yes.
I mean, they already call us a cult.
Well, we're at some point we're going to have open arms to everybody, and once this gets out and the corrections are made and there's understanding and the discussions are had, there needs to be open arms to everybody, and that includes people that we disagree with right now. But that's very important to be acceptable, and we're gonna need to be there for them. They're going to need support. This what's happening right now. There's going to be decades worth of correction and infrastructure that's going to have to be created, institutions to put in place to help people that have some of these kids that I'm hearing stories in our research that some of the stuff on the mind control and splitting their personalities and stuff. That's not just going to happen overnight. That's going to take a decade of correcting. We're going to have to go through phases and put infrastructure over there. But most importantly, we're going to have open arms for everybody once we shine the light on it.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Yes, exactly right. And, I just want to say, you guys, to everybody in the audience, this is not going to become a Ramtha bashing show. This is like the guys just said, this is not what we intended. But you can rest assured that if there are tough questions that need to be asked in the future, I am going to do my best to ask those questions of many different types of guests. I don't want this to just be a softball match every time that I come on a live stream and just deliver, a bunch of easy pitches and give everybody, just one particular viewpoint. I would like to have people on here that we can have discussions with and that we can challenge and that we can, ask these difficult questions, because I think it is sorely needed. I think it's something that I know that I've been afraid to do up until this point. I didn't want to feel like I was rocking the boat, but again, it got to a point where I felt like it would be irresponsible of me not to come out and say it. And, and I know that these guys feel the same. You guys, we're coming up on 11 o'clock. I'm going to leave you guys with the exit, but was there anything else that you wanted to tell the audience tonight before we say goodnight?
Yeah, just real quick, and you just ended on it. Responsibility to the group, man. We have that. I have that. So I'm really careful what I do. I know that affects and people use as the group. So if you can please keep that in mind in our dealings with others as we're trying to shift this collective consciousness, come from a space of love and gratitude, and reach out to each other, man. I love you guys. I'm proud of each and every one of you guys, man. And, I'm honored to be here with you guys. Thank you for joining this live stream tonight. And I love you all. Red Pill, you killed it, man. You do. I love you and your show, bro. Proud of you.
Yes, Anna. Yes, Red Pill, thanks for having us on the show tonight. And I'm going to leave with, everybody, just remember one thing. We're all in this together. We are unified. We're all brothers and sisters. And, none of us are perfect. And as, Crop said, we're all learning this as we go. In Matrix and Shady, we pray for you every day that you guys, can understand. We're feared for you guys as well. We actually fear for you guys because we don't want you guys to get wrapped up into something you're not too sure about. Like I said, we pray for you guys. We hope that we could all unify again. We can stop this, whatever's going on with, we lose our path. We do that. But let's get this together and let's all be on the same status here, and let's fight this together. We all need each other. Everybody's going to need us in the end.
I guess I just want to add that as researchers and being part of this movement, I feel that we're weeks, if not months, ahead of the information that other people know. And I think that we've been tasked with explaining to people exactly what's going on, why things are going on, and we have to have that debate. And if we can't debate and have discussions amongst ourselves, how are we supposed to cross that line and get the message to a completely opposing point of view? And I mean, we have to be patient with them. They've been programmed to just disconnect. Anytime you say something that they don't want to hear, and it's all the way into our colleges, it's almost indoctrination. So we're going to have to find a way to have those discussions. And I think the best way to start that is to have those discussions within ourselves And just we're tasked with getting that message out. We're going to have to be there for them, explain why, explain the history, explain what needs some change and what direction, have the discussion of what direction we need to go from here. And I just want to say God bless every patriot out there, and a special thanks to all of our servicemen and our president, and just say a prayer for our elected officials.
I would have to agree. So just to give everyone a rundown of everyone that was on tonight, we had Bob from Life After RSE. We had AnonT17, we had Crop Duster, and we had Jason Woke Up in Vegas. I just, yeah, like I said before, guys, I don't want to make a habit of just doing my show on this. So that we're probably not going to be talking about this ever again, just to put everyone's mind at ease. But I just wanted to make it clear that we are going to continue to look at tough subjects on this show, as well as things that you know and love. Like next week, my returning guests, Severe and Jason Was a Gentile, will be back on Friday night to debut a brand new song. Also, a couple of other guests I'm still in the process of scheduling, but hopefully they are going to be a couple of really big ones. I just want to thank all of my guests for joining us tonight. I want to thank everyone in the chat for sticking with us and trying to keep it civil. I hope everyone had a great time for this weekend's edition of Saturday Night Livestream. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.